Hey everybody, Gunstar here, and this is April.
Hello.
Girlfriend. And this is a Too Many Games pickup wrap-up video. But before we do that, I want to quickly address two things. One, no, this is not normal stuff. I do this for every Too Many Games, though, as it's been something. One of my favorite conventions is you're going to see some of the quick video I took of the convention. It always has a stellar marketplace. A lot of people that I enjoy both from YouTube and from like real life friends are all always there, and I have just like it's like almost like a reunion of everybody. And it's always been a big thing for me. So I always like to, because I always get a lot of cool stuff, and that's no different this year, including oddities and all that good stuff. Number two, there is two things in the works, and they're both happening soon, so I want to like get them out of the way. So sometime this week, after this video goes up, there's going to be a new Sega Importorium. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but it's almost done. And then this weekend, Saturday, at some point around, I'm going to say noon, I'll probably put an official video up on Wednesday or Thursday to remind. I will be doing my first stream on YouTube. Because of her. She had her birthday a couple months ago. And I've been talking about doing live streams for a while, every once in a while, just to be fresh. And if I've never made this clear, I have a really bad history with Echo the Dolphin. And I've never finished it. I've hated it since I was a kid, and she really wants to see me beat it. So we're going to be streaming from beginning to end the Sega CD version of Echo the Dolphin for as long as it takes. I'm gonna beat it. We've got this, I gotta climb down here. We have this old Sega CD Secrets Prima guide that has an Echo the Dolphin walk through in it. We're gonna beat it. I may get inebriated at some point during it, but you know, if you want to see somebody finally champion one of their like old games from their like nightmarish childhood, it's gonna be that. But anyways, so Too Many Games is a convention in Philly, one of like the premier East Coast conferences, conventions, whatever you want to call it, and we had a lot of great stuff just come our way from different regions. The only thing I want to show really quickly that doesn't have to do with the convention, they got delivered all this home. If I've never made this clear, I'm a huge Hatful Boyfriend fan. It's a weird visual novel dating sim from Japan that involves birds. It's weird, and back like maybe in December, January, they did a Kickstarter for plushes of the birds. And yeah, we got all the three main ones they did initially, plus the like early birds made one to go with my body pillow from that game the Humble Bundle had. And I didn't get the rest of the birds because that's way too much money, but they came in over the weekend, and I'm like super pumped about the quality. So I'll link to the Kickstarter if you're interested. I think they're gonna do it again or do more of them or make them readily available afterwards. Anyways, so Too Many Games. We both got some really cool stuff. The first thing I want to show is the freebie thing, right there. Yeah. So one of my friends, back at my hometown up in upstate New York, his name's Nate. He does Sprite Lovers. One of the local stores was going to throw away this little like Sega like shelf thing for cartridges, and because it's got a little crack here, and he's like, I'm not gonna throw it away. Like, I have a friend who I guarantee you is gonna want this, and they're like, all right, here, you can have it, because we're gonna throw it out anyways. And he's like, hey, do you want this? And I'm like, yeah. I don't even buy loose cartridges, yet I still like just like having it. It's just something I want to hang and potentially figure out something to put on it. Maybe I'll display cartridges I'm playing soon or something like that.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, just because that'll make it easy if I'm like trying to run through a game for testing or whatever, or if I'm playing like a few different games at once. It's kind of a cool thing, but it's a weird Sega oddity, so, you know. Moreover, so years and years ago, Nate also got this weird promo item that I found in his house 2 years ago. And it's taunted me ever since because I'm a huge fan of the game and the series as a whole. And eventually, recently, he decided to sell off his collection because he's trying to focus on PS1, which he does a cool show on called PlayStation Pursuit, and things like that. So I'm like, well, yeah, sells me right now. And so he totally did. This is a promo box for Jammer Lammy. It has 2 holes in it, so I'm assuming what it was. I haven't looked into it too much yet. Is it like there was a spinning spindle for it that probably had more boxes on it, and it's just a blown up version of the actual box. It's not like it's got any other special, but like, if you never played Jammer Lammy, I'm gonna put it out there. This is the best Parappa the Rappa game. It came from the same guy. It was basically a spin-off, and it's also secretly Parappa the Rappa 2. Parappa the Rappa 3 is really Parappa the Rappa 2 is really Parappa the Rappa 3. But yeah, because if you beat the game once, you unlock a Parappa mode that has all the songs redone like as hip hop songs with Parappa, as opposed to the more rock-oriented songs that Lammy has. Yeah, it's a cheap game too. You should definitely, if you haven't played it, you should definitely play it. I know it's not Sega, but you know, I have more than one hobby because I do videos specifically tailored to Sega. But speaking of Sega, I owe you on this. So we opened the convention. I'm working the booth for Cartridge Arcade, the place that I work at. And she texts me someplace that I'm very familiar with. It's nearby in Ohio called Stone Age Gamer, who's pretty famous online for doing the EverDrive, a lot of the EverDrive carts. They actually had their new GBA one on display. Had some vinyls. And they had a vinyl that I was really mad that I missed out on. And that would be, as many people would probably already know that watch this, the first Data Disc Streets of Rage 1 album. It's not like the super nice version with like the cards and everything. It does have the prints inside. It hadn't been opened, it was new. It's the, I don't know all the variants, but it's the red clear vinyl. As somebody who is a ginormous Yuzo Koshiro fan, like, having this is a huge deal to me. I'm, like, super stoked. And I mean, like, the art's great. I still have been terrible at getting data disc vinyls because they just always come out at, like, the worst inopportune times, and Streets of Rage is a big one for me because I played this game so much on the 6-pack and stuff, so, like, yeah. I was super pumped. I didn't even notice that Sega on his shoe. I've never paid attention to the artwork that much. Shows what I know. So yeah, it was a good price. They had the Shenmue and the Hang-On vinyls as well. I don't know if they sold through all of them or not. I don't.
They did not. No.
Yeah. So I mean, Strange Gamer has a website, and if you miss those two, they have them and they're reasonably priced. I'm just saying. So let's talk about this one, because this is also a gift. This was your thing more than anything. So you can talk a little bit about this before we show it, or you can show it and then talk about it, whatever you think's easier.
Well, I think it's easier to show. We got a complete half-in-box.
Yeah.
Action Max came with...
We got
three games with it.
Yeah.
But of course, you gotta have...
a VHS player.
And a VHS player to play it.
Pops Ghostly, the Rescue World.
Other than a big RPG fan, I do like to collect all the older consoles too. So this will be about like what our 32nd console
30 in the 30s,
yeah,
low 30s.
But yeah, just like you said, you have to have a VHS player. It's a light gun machine pretty much.
Yeah.
You shoot the screen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right,
but so it's a fun oddity. It's something unique.
Oh yeah, I don't mean to talk over you. The VHS tape is essentially a backdrop. Think of it like sort of like the cellophane wraps they put on Space Invaders. You could, in theory, play the Action Max without the VHS player. I think. I don't know how it hooks up. I don't know if it needs to have input coming in to read it. But essentially all that the VHS tape does is give you something to shoot. The targets and everything else work on the system itself. Yeah. This just has no visual output. It's a real oddity. I'm not even sure who published the Action Max as far as the system goes. It doesn't have a name on it. I don't think the video game tapes have it on it. But to make sure, Worlds of Wonder is the name of the videotaping. But so a friend of ours named Jason, he knows us from our YouTube videos. I met him at Retro Game Con in November. He started to do YouTube stuff. There'll be a link. He basically had a trunk and he was selling stuff to Nate, guy from Straight Lovers. They gave us some of the cool stuff we've seen already. He was getting some PS1 games, and we happened to be there, and he's like, who wants an Action Max? And April has been looking for the Action Max. We've seen it like 2 or 3 times. We haven't bought it for one reason or another, and she got giddy about it, and he's like, he basically just wanted to get rid of it. And he's like, you guys seem like you really want it. Have the Action Max. And we're like, fucking great. It was really exciting. And I mean, I'm excited to play it. I love light gun games. I'm excited to check it out. I'm sure the technology is going to hold up super well. I've seen the video that James and Mike did on the Cinemassacre channel. But it's a cool oddity, and it's one of the few systems we don't technically have. I know it's almost not even a video game system because there's no actual visuals coming out of it, but it's cool. It is a very cool oddity, and I know there's more than the 3 tapes we have, so I mean, actually that makes me wonder how this thing programs the tapes reactions. Hey, Oliver. So I guess we'll find out more about it as we play it, but we're excited. We're gonna test it sooner than later, so day one stuff. Let's do the last non-video game-ish thing.
Right.
So for people who watch this I'm in Pittsburgh, and there's a local Facebook group that we have here, and somebody asked about this board game. If I haven't made it clear, I collect board games. I think the last TooManyGames video I had a bunch that I showed off. And this is a board game called Shrieks and Creeps from Golden. If you know the Golden books that you used to have as a kid, little tiny books with gold spines, they made board games evidently. And this is a board game that talks to you. And how it does that is it comes with, I don't know how, basically what it has is it comes with, as I open it up, a cassette tape that talks to you. And it actually comes with, I am sure, what will likely be one of the worst speakers in the entire goddamn world. And I'm very excited to hook this up to my video game chiptune tracks. Maybe I'll play my Streets of Rage vinyl out of this thing.
Oh my god.
Listen to the vinyl player. But basically what would happen is you'd land on spaces and there's these little keys that would slot into this and like would set off the cassette to play. And I don't know if it does any differences or anything. Like maybe it's, I don't know if it's randomized, like which ones, because they all have like little different niches and notches on them. And it's mostly going around the board and doing whatever the cassette tape tells you, but like it's a cool like novelty thing. But I know somebody in the Pittsburgh Retro Gaming Group mentioned this, like I had this as a kid, I loved it, and I'm like, this is the kind of oddball board game stuff that I'm like, totally into. So when I saw a guy who had it for $10, I'm like, yeah. And the only thing it's missing is a manual, which I'm sure I could find a PDF of, or somebody who played it online. Back to you.
What would you like to do first?
Let's see. We got a whole box full of stuff. Well, let's go with this one just because it's the last non-TooManyGames purchase. This was something that Nate bought for me and I paid him back for later because I happened to see it. So there's another store up in upstate New York that Nate was at, and it's the last time I have to talk about him specifically. And he was showing pictures like, here, all this cool stuff they have. They have like Cheeky Cheeky Boys and all these like great Genesis complete blocks. And out of like near the top left corner, I saw the last Bible game I need, Bible Adventures. I have the other three. I have actually two. This is the last unlicensed Genesis game I don't have, if you're not cutting out Back Joey. And this game goes for like triple digits. This was 30 at their store. And I'm like, I'll tell you honestly, this is worth like way more than 30, but I really need it. If you buy this for me, I will be like forever indebted to you, and all you did was make me pay him what the price was. And yeah, if you've seen the NES game, you've seen the Genesis game, it's just nicer looking. If you've never seen them, they are like weird squarish cartridges. The manuals for these Wisdom Tree games are like fold-outs. Are not like proper like pamphlets almost. And yeah, the Bible Adventures game is just 3 different like smaller platforming games. Noah's Ark, David and Goliath, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and Baby Moses, which is the famous one where you don't bring Baby Moses at the end. It's like, hey, you made it, but you forgot Baby Moses. All that kind of stuff. It's not a good game by any means, but like $30 for this complete is like a steal, and I bet you I could derive $30 from entertainment. And it means that should I ever choose to, I can finally cover a video about the Wisdom Tree games because now I have all 4 of them on physical. So my rule allows for that. So let's talk about your like one big get for Friday, which was Yeah. You see it now. Nope. Yeah, that one. Oh, you got any idea. So we just recently, give it a little bit closer, kind of glare, yeah. So we got Point Blank 1 and 2 recently from a store here locally called Wild Woolies, and we've had a fucking ball playing them. The Point Blank ports on PS1 are fantastic. You don't have to hold the whole time.
Okay, whatever.
You have to
Look at it.
And the third one was the only one we hadn't found yet. It's uncommon. It's not expensive. But it's something we had been looking for quite a bit, and we haven't really beaten the first 2 completely yet. But we wanted to have all 3 at one point, and now we do. This one's not as cool. So the first 2 games have like a quest mode and a theme park mode, and you'll hear a little about Point Blank in the Sega Importorium. And Point Blank 3 only has like an endurance tower, which is basically just playing a longer version of arcade mode to begin with. So like, it doesn't have as much of a cool gimmick, but like, as she can attest to, like the Point Blanks are basically like WarioWares with light guns.
Pretty much, yeah.
They're just like rapid fire mini games that you have to complete with the light gun. It a lot of times requires precision or like speed and trigger happiness, and like there's a ball. You definitely got to make sure you get the second light gun. You gotta have 2 if you want the full effect, because it's really a good multiplayer game. But yeah, I think it has a pass the controller style mode too. Yeah, 1 to 8 players. Yeah, you can like do a pass the gun along and challenges like that. So there's over 80 minigames. It's pretty meaty as far as what it contains though. So yeah, if you've never checked out the Point Blank series, definitely check it out sometime. Speaking of PS1 games though, one of the big ones that I've been looking for a little bit now, I've mentioned the series quite a few times to you, like as a whole,
yes.
And I was finally trying to focus down on finding one of them to play, is the Deception series. If you're not familiar, the Deception series is basically a game in which you go into a room, you have like a setup, a stage, and you get all these traps at your disposal. And the whole idea is to set up these big, elaborate, Rube Goldbergian, Final Destination-style traps to kill enemies for big points. In order to complete the level, you get more points, you unlock new stuff, all kinds of stuff. And basically, when I went looking online, people's definitive answer for like basically the best version as far as like gameplay is concerned, they say Deception 2 has the better story, but Deception 3 was the best as far as game content was concerned. It advertises there's over 2,000 trap variations, which is intense. 4 modes of play, multiple endings, among many other things. This is extremely uncommon. I saw 2 of these at Too Many Games, which is crazy, which proves how good Too Many Games can be, but there's like 1 on eBay right now, and they don't come up very often when they do, especially complete. And we got a really great price on it, and yeah, I've played Trapped, which is the PS2 game that's kind of like a spin-off. It's not technically a Deception series, because Deception 4 would come out later on PS4, which I still haven't played, but I played a lot of Trapped, and I liked it quite a bit, and I always wanted to get a proper Deception game, and I could have gotten 4, but I really wanted to get one of the old school ones first before I did the 4, and this was the one that people said, and it just be a matter of finding it, and we found it at the price we wanted to, so we now finally have Deception 3, and I'm excited to play it, and figure out why there's a really, like, just a very exceptional picture of a butt sitting over on here, but I guess we'll see when we get there.
I didn't even notice that.
Yes, there's a very, very pronounced butt picture. Speaking of really cool stuff that we picked up for Sega purposes, the first thing is, this game I had, actually, when the DS came out, both the original and the sequel. And the first one is like a $5 game at best. You can find the first game everywhere. The second game, even online, is super uncommon. It's a $10 game, but it's near impossible to find. It's the version I actually liked better, and that is the quirky Rub Rabbits, which was the sequel to Feel the Magic XXXY, which was, for all intents and purposes, not a game you wanted to pay $30 for, but you're paying $5 to $10, you totally get your money's worth. It's weird, the mini-games are odd, it has weird, like, extra modes, like where you and another player, like, have like a love meter thing where you're both holding one side of the DS, and like you have a baby. And the baby will determine how good of a relationship you have, and you have to like cut wedding cake. It's weird. It's a weird game with a weird art style, but it's a really cool, like, nice sort of original idea from Sega that a lot of people kind of forgot about. Feel the Magic was pretty popular because it was a launch title and it was generally pretty fun. But Rubber Rabbits pretty much came out with no fanfare. It didn't get a high print run, and both games pretty much got forgotten immediately after this one came out. And that's kind of a bummer because they're actually pretty fun. Again, they only last about 2 hours, so like paying $30 at the time was not a great choice in life, but now they're like $5 and $10, like they're the price of like a Steam game or a downloadable title. Like they're worth what you're paying now. So if you have a DS, I totally recommend checking it out if you haven't before. Also, the same day, this was sealed. I opened it. There's sealed copies online. They're not super uncommon sealed, so I hope nobody's heartbroken. But I've been looking for this one for, yeah, she knows. I've been looking for this game for quite a while now. And I've played the Steam sequel multiple times. I played the original on GameTap, if anybody remembers GameTap. I do talk about it in the Cyberbots video, but if anybody watches remembers GameTap and knows how awesome it was when it came out, they may have had a chance to play the PC version of Typing of the Dead. This game is fucking awesome. It still holds up today. I mean, yeah, it's House of the Dead 2 with typing, and it seems like it shouldn't work, but it totally works. And I actually think that as cool as Typing of the Dead Overkill was, like a nice surprise, this game works better. The bosses all have like these unique gimmicks to them. It's a little, I felt like it was a little more tongue-in-cheek without being obvious, like Typing of the Dead Overkill does. That fits its tone better. But there's just something special about the original because it was such a serious idea. Like they really went in 2000 in America. They said this is a game people want, as opposed to now where they basically went, okay, it's got a cult following, it's a dumb concept, and it's easy for us to reskin the game. And like they have stories about how they programmed that game in like 6 weeks or something ridiculous. Not this one, the Overkill. And yeah, and the keyboards are a dime a dozen. They're like super easy to find for this. So like. Yeah, if you've never had the chance to play Typing of the Dead and you don't have access to a Dreamcast right now, like, go on Steam. Steam Summer Sale's going on as this video is being posted. Buy Typing of the Dead Overkill. It's really, you'd be surprised how fun it is, and it does actually help you get better at typing and, like, learning your home keys and strokes and all that jazz, but, yeah, it was, $40 sealed, and now it's unsealed, and I'm sure somebody's gonna be like, I can't believe you unsealed, and I'll be like, There's like three on eBay. Let's say no. It's just if there wasn't a billion on eBay, it'd be a different story. There's like 3. You can go do that and choose as you will. So we got food delivered. Forgot it was coming. So quick cut. Apologize. Anyways, so you got something kind of big for your collection on Friday too.
Yes.
At the same time.
Finished the DS Dragon Quest collection. So we picked up Joker. I only got it for $10. It's complete. I also got actually a little bonus with it if I could find it quick enough. I got,
It's in there.
It is in here somewhere.
For the record,
Yes.
April is a huge Dragon Quest nerd. I'm gonna call you a nerd, but
I am. I really am. This was a pre-order bonus. It's just a little screen cloth that has the map on it for this game. I mean, I am a big nerd. I mean, I even had to buy it myself with slime.
Squishy slime. Squish, squish. Okay, it's not terrible. So what is the Joker series compared to like the regular turn-based RPGs?
It's part of the Monster series. Basically, you just go. You don't collect. It's not like Pokemon. You kind of befriend the monsters and they help you out in battle. So that's Joker. There's 2 of them. We picked up the second one maybe a couple weeks ago. So I'm really glad I finally got this one done.
So Saturday came along. So that was basically for the first day. The second day was kind of the big second push. So in the morning, I happened to run into a booth that had this in a box for $10 complete, which is Dragon Spirit, a pretty decent conversion of Namco's top-down Scribe So the Screw that was published by Bandai before they were Bandai Namco. I think they priced it at 10 because there's a small tear in the box there. I bought it because I thought it was part of the Reno Games Center CX collection, and it actually turns out it wasn't. And I made this mistake twice before, but I managed to stop myself. This time I didn't. So I don't know if I'm going to keep it yet, but, it's one of those things where I feel like since it keeps happening, maybe it was meant to be eventually, and $10 is really cheap for a complete box. So I played Dragon Spirit. I have it on the Namco Museum discs that were on the PS1, so, it's not a huge deal, but, that is pretty phenomenally cheesy box art, so that was kind of cool. The reason I stopped at the booth, though, was to get the final GBA Sonic game I didn't have, which isn't Sonic Advance 1 through 3, it ain't Sonic Pinball Party, it's the oft-forgotten Sonic Battle, which is probably awful. But I had this as a kid, and I actually liked it quite a bit. This is the reason I ended up picking it up, is because it was super complete with the mini poster. A lot of the THQ published Sega games have these mini posters in them. Basically, it's like a Smash brawler. It's like, a 4-player fighting, arena fighting game, and I don't remember why it was good. I never played it with people. I was always playing the single player, and you have this one character you play as who never showed up in anything else called Emerald. And every time you beat opponents, you would get moves, and you could customize how Emerald played, which was kind of interesting. It was kind of cool, and it also has most of the popular favorite fighting characters from Sonic Adventure 1 and Cream, and not Big the Cat. They make a game that you could beat up other Sonic characters, and they didn't put Big the Cat in it. But it's kind of hard to come by. I don't know if it's gonna hold up at all, but I do remember loving it as a kid. I'm sure it's gonna be bad, but I'm gonna hope deep down inside that it's not. But that's why I stopped at their booth and I picked that up at the same time. Also, so I have a good friend, Joe Ross. He runs Cerulean Games, which is this really great. They're con only, but he's super great. He's a wicked nice guy, and he all of his product is really nice looking. He does a really good job of keeping everything clean, nice. Prices everything really fairly. And I don't pick up a lot from him. Just because usually he gets a lot of he keeps a lot of high-end stuff. He doesn't really tend to, unless it's in big collection stuff, he tends to get the high-priced items and the big sought-after stuff. However, recently he's selling a complete Saturn collection, and in that complete Saturn collection is one of the toughest games to find on the Saturn as far as just availability. Is the Crypt Killer port from Konami. It is a $5 game on PlayStation 1. This is the only Crypt Killer I know that was available for sale anywhere right now. I'm sure there's some local, some random local mom and pop shops or some random people that have it, but there's no copies on eBay as of right now complete. I don't know about Amazon. And I have been looking for this for a while, and I actually meant to pick it up from him at Korg's, and it didn't work out, but he luckily still had it at Too Many Games, and I was like, I'm not making that mistake twice. It's a light gun game. There isn't anything really special about it outside of that, but it looks really good, and I've been told it's a pretty good arcade shooter, so I'm looking forward to finally playing it. Whether it ends up being much more than just a one playthrough kind of game, I don't know. I'm sure it's probably not worth the extra $50 it costs on the Saturn compared to the PlayStation version. But again, it like Rampage and Herc's Adventure and a few other ones, it may not be as expensive as stuff like Panzer and Burning Rangers and things like that right now, but they are incredibly harder to find. There's just so little of them out there being sold right now. So like I was super pumped, and he, like I said, just super cool guy about it. Really nice. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit for two things. So April was really nice to me, helping me out with the big thing, as we're gonna call it. And so Cerulean also had a game. You're gonna be able to tell us more about, like, you can tell me more about why you wanted it, at least, because I don't think you ever played it. This is a weird party game that Konami put out for the PS1 called Poi Poi. And it looks very Bomberman-esque in the sense that it's arena-based, you're throwing stuff, but, like, it looks really weird. Like, why? Like, why are you interested in this so much? Like, that's
just basically what you said. It's a weird party game, and I'm always interested in weird party games. Because I always enjoy playing with others.
Yeah, I mean, it has up to 4 players that can join the battle. You toss bombs, rocks, and even your opponents to achieve victory. Over 70 gloves, which give you special throwing powers to defeat your enemies. It sounds really neat, and it seems like it's becoming a sought-after game on the system. Well, you know, we paid, it was $40 for it, which was, or 45, something like that. And it's in good shape too. I gotta assume it's being sought after to some degree. I don't know much about it, and it's certainly something I'm excited to try out. I guess we'll find out. And again, if you're, I feel obligated just because it's in little packaging. If you're ever interested, that's Cerulean Gaming. So, anyways, and the last thing that got bought on Saturday, and you should show your one Sunday purchase after this before we get to the finale. Hardcore Gaming 101 was there selling their books, and behind the desk they had a couple of figures. And when I saw them, I kind of lost my shit. I'm like, oh, dude, I can't believe you have those. I'm really cool. And they're like, oh, yeah, if you want them, they're like, $10 a piece, and the little one's $5. And I'm like, we do all three for 20? And they're like, yeah, cool. Sega figures. I've seen these before. These, okay, so there's 3 of them. This one, if you're unfamiliar, is, as I peel it out, this is Nye from Phantasy Star 2. I don't have her claws in because I haven't tried to detach them yet, but they do come with the claws. And also, which I'm actually way more excited about, I can't even tell you how cute this thing is. This is, I think her name's RL, it's Ariel, it starts with an A. I'm forgetting, but the main protagonist from Monster World 4. And these were a set of gachapons called Sega Gals Collection, and I don't know where the one little, like, pamphlet-y thing happened. Yeah, that's for the other thing. Yep, it's right here. So there's 2 sets. The first set, the one that Nye came out of, is right here. There's some other couple of cool ones. There's one from Sarah from Virtua Fighter, Aryu from Puyo Puyo, as you know it, Ooh La La, one of the Final Fantasy Star Online characters, and Ramaya from Arabian Fight, which is super obscure. And then there was a second set with the Monster World 4 protagonist, which were super cool. There was also another like little mini set of keychain things that came out. I'm not as familiar with where these came, like what they were from. I'm assuming they're prize figures. But there was a tiny figure of Honey from the Fighting Viper series, which is totally underrated. And yeah, I don't get to see a lot of the weird Sega collectibles that came out of Japan very often. And when I saw, especially when I Phantasy Star Monster World, I'm like, yeah, I have to. Like, I had $20. I could have bought some other stuff that I had to choose over it, but like, this is way too cool. Like, I will never see these again probably anywhere unless I'm trying to get them online from Japan, and it's just like super stoked. So you got one thing today as of filming.
Yes.
That you were. I actually was shocked when I went looking up this because I'm like.
Actually, there's the theme going on with the shirt.
Yeah, if you know what the shirt is, then you already know what this is. But,
for the Turbo Graphics CD.
Well, technically this is Turbo Duo on the disc.
Well, it says Duo on the disc, but
it ain't working either.
It's Loom. This is a graphic adventure game, came out from LucasArts in '92. It's really, really long-winded to explain the entire thing, but you're basically a chosen one that saves the world. Yeah, there's a lot of lore, a lot of interesting things about it. I'm always hunting down adventure games as well, and usually the big boxes, but you know, Loom is something special, something different. It's music-based. I just had to have it. They had it at MagFest when we went, but they still didn't sell it, so I I got really lucky and I was able to purchase it this time around.
And much like Crypt Killer, there's no complete copies online right now. There might be one, maybe, I think. But even then, like, we got it for a great price compared to what it was selling for the past couple times when it does show up. But it's super hard to come by. And I mean, like, that's the story of almost any of the Turbo CD stuff. But I don't think I've seen Gloom besides here. So, like, we got this at, like, a good steal. And, of course, we don't have a Turbo CD or a Turbo Duo yet, or even a PC Engine CD, but now we have more incentive because we didn't have any of the CD-based ones. So, somebody who goes, his name is Chris, I don't want to mispronounce his last name again because I haven't memorized it, but he's also known as Retro Rat, was selling his collection, for the most part, to fund future life endeavors. And Nate, Scott, the guys I hang out with from up in New York, know him, and we're like, hey, here's his list of stuff, get in contact with him, he might have some stuff you want. And to say he had stuff we both wanted would be an understatement. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? Do you want to
since I have less, I'll go first.
Okay, so...
And you have the bigger item.
Right, so you only bought one thing initially.
Initially, yes, which I got complete. Solo to Robo.
Right. Super complete because it came in a big box with a soundtrack in a jewel case, which is very odd for
usually they're just like little paper sleeves, but.
And if you're unfamiliar, this is probably one of the hardest DS games to get like that at this point. It's one of the rarest now.
Jewel case and everything. Everything's really nice and clean.
I don't know if I'd argue it's rarest. It might be just the highest value going rate at this point. If you're unfamiliar, Solo to Robo is I don't know if it's technically a sequel or just a spiritual successor to Tale Concerto for the PS1, but it's one of the two. It has very similar art style, same gameplay, but it might not be technically a sequel. But yeah, this was a late release too. It has DSi features. I don't know. I know they use the camera. I just don't know exactly how the camera is used. It looks really cute. I'm excited to play it. I want to watch you play it first. But she was super stoked about that. So she helped me out with this a little bit. So I bought her something as interest, essentially, like a thank you thing, which is one of your Enix games.
Yes, I'm. Like I said earlier, I'm a big RPG fan. So we got Brainlord Complete.
Yeah.
Not just that too. We also got the guide with it.
Yeah, which the guide
is extremely rare.
Yeah. Because if you already looked when you saw it, the box is like completely beat to crap, and he's like, you're not gonna want it. The box is in really bad condition, and I'm like, no, like we are 2 out of 10 collectors. Like we're willing to take the damage for the cheap prices, and he got us a great price on it. So it's nice to have this. It has everything. It has the map in it. It's like complete. So I mean, like, and for what we paid for it, it was unreal, totally unreal.
Absolutely.
So that was a super great deal. We had already bought some other stuff that was big. So initially, I started this whole thing for one game, and I'm getting to that at the end because it's a huge deal. So as far as Sega stuff goes, we'll get to Sega stuff afterwards. There were 2 things that weren't Sega. I love tabletop. I said 2 things.
Okay.
Anyways.
Okay.
There were 2. I love tabletop and I love trading card collectible card games. So when the new DS Collector's app came out for iPhone, I found out that there was a game based on the Full Metal Alchemist trading card game. I never played it, but I'll tell you damn what, I'll play any trading card game that's digital. It means I don't have to spend the money. And it is super complete. It does come with the promo card that many of these games would come with when they did these releases. I don't know how complicated it is. I don't know who the hell the publisher is. I don't know who the hell was like... I don't remember this even being a big card game when it was out at all, so I don't know how this happened. But it is actually very, very, very uncommon. So when I saw him post that list, I'm like, I got it. And again, it wasn't like super expensive, but it was, still a few bucks. The other big one, Sega-wise, for DS, let's go through that order, was Sands of Destruction, which is from the developers of the Luminous Arc series, Image Pooch. They also did the Seventh Dragon series, which we're finally getting in America really soon. That'll be published by Sega. They did something else that I'm forgetting. Arc Rise Fantasia for the Wii, and also Criminal Girls for the PSP and Vita, which is a series you probably shouldn't dig into. But anyways, they also did this one-off, unique IP game called Sands of Destruction, and it looks amazing. Whether it actually plays well or not, I don't know. But the art style is gorgeous. It has this really cool, like, a lot of dual screen battles. It feels very big, very epic. I'm hoping that, much like a lot of other Sega's great RPGs of that, like, time period, it'll end up capturing that spirit. It reminds me of that a lot more than their other games did. So I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful. And again, a very, very hard game to track down at this point, and a lot of people don't know about it. And I'm hoping that it's good enough that I can play it and be, like, really gushy about it later on. The one, like, kind of weird one. So I like fighting games. I like fighting games a crap ton. And ever since I started going after fighting games, now that I'm starting to slow down with two other things, one of the ones that has evaded me, and many of my friends have managed to run into before I could, is Air Guys, the Squaresoft fighter known for having a shit ton of Final Fantasy VII characters in it. And surprisingly, what I didn't notice, there's a lot of mini games, and it also, much like Tobal number 2, which is another Squaresoft endeavor. No, Tobal number 1 doesn't have it.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so. I think only Tobal number 2 has the a dungeon crawling mode, for what it's worth, an RPG. If I'm wrong, you can tell me. And basically what that was is, like, you have unique characters you'd go through, you'd have to still do, like, a top-down, like, basically a top-down, like, roguelike. It's one of those games that reminds me of, like, something like Tekken, like, something not necessarily Tekken 7, but, like, Tekken 4 and 5, and, not necessarily DOA, but even, like, Smash Bros. That had, like, the fighting mechanics are backed up by having, like, a crap. The Mortal Kombat series started doing that with, like, Deadly Alliance and Deception, where they just, like, yeah, there's a great fighting game here, or not, depending on your argument, but, like, here's a crap ton of extra stuff, too, in case you don't get bored of the fighting game, which I do enjoy. Weird stuff, nothing that really has to do with the fighting engine, which I thought was kind of unnecessary, but it seems like a really cool game, and I've heard the fighting engine, just the normal main game, is really good, so I'm hopeful. The final game I got, as far as the not crazy stuff, was Donald Duck Goin' Quackers, which is the last, I think, I'm almost positive, the last Disney game, at least on a Sega console, that I don't have outside of a couple of the Game Gear ones. And I actually had this for PC as a kid, and it's essentially a Crash Bandicoot clone, but it's a pretty decent one. It's easy, but otherwise it's pretty fun, and it's lighthearted, and it has some of the DuckTales characters in it and things like that, and I remember liking it a lot, and I just never run into it. It's not expensive, it's not a hard one to find, really. Hard for me to find, but that doesn't mean it was hard for everybody else to find. And when he initially didn't put this on his list, and he found it later, and I was like, yeah, it was cheap, and I'm like, all about it. So finally, the big one. This is so Areno, Games Center CX, which I've talked about multiple times, has this really nasty habit of playing games that are super expensive. Maybe in Japan's version on the Famicom, maybe the American version, maybe both. And I've gotten a few of them over time that a lot of the ones have some kind of like fallen into my lap too, where I've like already had it, like but like I have like Mega Man 2 and some of these other like expensive ones, things like that. I'm sure there's ones I'm forgetting that are up top, but like yeah, he has this nasty habit. So like for instance, he played Battle Formula, which is known as Super Spy Hunter in America. The Famicom version of that is over $1,000. Ridiculous amounts of money. He played Comic Zone, which is ridiculously expensive in Japan. He played Metal Storm, which is particularly expensive in America. I mean, the list goes on and on. And one of the ones that not only spit in my face, but is pretty expensive even in Japan, and is also a game that I had known about long before Game Center CX, and it's something I've always wanted, and I love unconditionally, no matter how shitty somebody tells me the game is an NES game. One of the most expensive licensed released NES games. And I'll tell you, I'm just gonna give you a couple hints to build up the suspense. It involves the samurai, it involves zombies, and it might involve a nation. Or otherwise known as Zombie Nation. Complete in box. I'm not a huge NES collector. I do get the ones that I had as a kid, the stuff that Arena plays, and a few stragglers. This is all three of them. This is an Arena game. This is a game I played as a kid. This is a game that I've wanted desperately, and I've wanted it this way because the box art's incredible. I love the game desperately, and I've committed to big price items on stuff like Sega CD and Sega Genesis before, and like I said, it's so uncommon online. Most of the time when you see it online now, it's just the box or just the manual. And I got it for a price that was cheaper than either of those when they happened. And I mean, it's not perfect. It's not a 10 out of 10, but it's still, it's pretty minty. There's some markings on the barcode in the back. There's a little bit of damage on the top, because I think it was sealed. Is what you thought. We had a Super Spy that was sealed to be open, and it has sort of the same damage that would happen there, where it sort of peeled off. It didn't rip off necessarily into the cardboard, but it ripped off sort of the paint on it in a way. And I mean, if you haven't played Zombie Nation and you've just watched either you watch Game 10 CX, maybe you watch Spoonie, maybe you watch JonTron, and you're just this looks like the stupidest game. What a stupid concept. It's tough. It's fun. It looks great. It's goofy. There's just something about this game to me that it just appeals to me in every sense of the word. And I'm not even a huge shooter fan. And I know saying this is one of my favorite shooters that I ever played is a disservice to stuff like Thunder Force and Garius and all these other great Genesis shooters, Grindstormer, Musha, and those are all great games, but there's something special about Zombie Nation, from when I discovered it, to who I discovered it with, to all the times of trying to find it, to get it, and it just avoiding me, or just I just wasn't wasn't the ability that I could buy it, and it's taken years. It's taken years to finally get here, and now we're here. And I do implore you, I don't care how you play it, but if you've never actually played it, you've just seen it or you've heard about it, try it out. It's legitimately a fun game. I'm sure there are people that won't like it when they try it, and that's fine, but I usually don't get gushy about non-Sega stuff on here. I'm willing to get gushy about Zombie Nation. It's that cool. And yeah, if you don't know, this is ridiculously expensive and stupidly hard to find. I had people, I was worried walking around with this. So, but yeah, that was Too Many Games in a nutshell. It was fun. I totally forgot to say at the beginning of the video, I did do a panel again with Joe, Eric, and also Dan from Console Wars this time. It was also on our panel. Joe led it. It was a same and different game this time, much like the last one, except this time we didn't focus on singular games and more in-depth comparisons, so much more as a broad history of the idea of these ports, these versions, and how they came to be and why they happened, and all those kind of things, which is really fun and interesting. And it should be up on Joe's YouTube channel really shortly. There'll be a link below to his channel or to the video once it's uploaded. Otherwise, you should totally go check it out. There's a lot of great panels that happened, and a lot of great cool stuff. My Life in Gaming was there, they did a panel. Gaming Historian did a panel that was there. Team 4-Star was there, Nostalgia Critic was there, Pat, the NES Punk was there, the Game Chasers were there, Re-Rez, Shane Lewis was there, Game Dave was there. I gotta forget Game Dave. Game Dave's the best. Game Dave's the man. Just an entire gamut of cool people. And if you live on the East Coast, if you live even remotely within driving distance to Philly and you haven't gone yet, you should. Even if you don't gonna go there to buy stuff, even if you're just one thing or the other thing or the other thing, or just want to meet new people, it really is one of the best conventions on the East Coast. It's up there. It's right there with MagFest. It's just a fun convention to do. And yeah, again, there'll be new videos this weekend, or not this weekend. There'll be new videos in the next couple days. Weekend stream for Echo the Dolphin's gonna be happening soon. And yeah, that's it, guys. Nice to get the yearly wrap up out here from Too Many Games, and we'll see you soon.